Thank you, Bartos. And thank you to everyone here to welcome me very well. So I'm Carlos. I'm a creative technologist and multimedia director. I founded Studio Carlos 10 years ago. And I've always been passionate about pushing the boundaries of storytelling through technology. It has been kind of the main path of my career. And I always focused on experiences where I would try to make the technology fade in the background to bring people into the story and immerse themselves in the magic and the fun of the narrative. So this year I've been, for instance, measuring kids jumping on trampolines, doing AI-augmented graffiti in museums, or hacking 1960s phone in order to transfer them into smart controllers, or talking to AI-generated personas that you could interact with in a very natural way. So how do we come to this? I come from an engineer background where I learned coding and discovered interactive art, what interested me much more than business consulting, I guess. So at the time I was playing with VVVVV, for those who remember it. And quickly I went out of the strictly engineer way to tell stories. So I started in a contemporary art agency, organizing exhibitions for private and public clients. So first sculpture, paintings, photography, but soon I felt that I needed a bigger canvas in order to tell more elaborate stories. So we created the digital art version of this, where we do instead connected frames and display the first video art, and then we'd hack the frames in order to put into some generative artworks and interactive ones. But at some point, I also felt that the screen was too small, and I needed to break this frame in order to bring those experiences in the, what I would say, the real world. So by exploring these new mediums, it unlocked a whole new realm of possibilities. You now play in the real world, so by using sensors and coding and new ways of displaying, like lights, neon, projection mapping. So it brought me to building a very wide kind of experiences, from projection mapping on the scales for COP21, creating interactive personas in jewelry store, or programming lights on an opera in France. So this happened like in France, Colombia, Canada, and then I came back to France for more some playful activities, like designing escape game by merging code, sensor, and real-time interactions. So then the stage was still too small, so I went to the bigger stage I could imagine, which is like large-scale concert hall, TV studios, circuses, and even stadiums. And the idea was to keep this playfulness, this interactive setup, but to expand it into crowds. So how do you keep the interaction you have with a few people to thousands of people? So I partnered with a media server company called Smode, who developed these systems that are like real-time media server. Think like a displaying technology, a VLC that's merged with real-time After Effects that was 10 years before Unreal, actually. So with this, we could imagine a whole new kind of experiences that would like take place in concert hall, where the public would interact with the artists on stage. a circus in which people would be part of the act. And then also in stadium there is sports. So in sports, sometimes, especially in rugby, my sport, like the rules of the game and the action on the field could be very complicated to understand. So we leverage the real-time data that is actually gathered from the player and to use it in real time to explain the game and give more insights to the spectators. And then at the halftime show, for instance, we would imagine games that was like 10,000 people against 10,000 people facing each other in the stadium in all of the same game and without smartphones. After some event in 2020 where all these mass events stopped very abruptly, I joined Superbien, which is a French creative studio based in Paris that allowed me to explore new ways to engage with audiences and to keep pushing boundaries of the creation. So at Superbien, we see ourselves as a storytelling company. We use technology only as a means to tell the stories. By, for instance, developing engaging content and mastering interactive experiences. The idea is to do a global concept where we would merge the digital world, the physical one, all in a playful way in order for it to seem natural and magic to the people. What we love to say that we believe in shared emotions because we want to bring people together through playful interactions. We create a setup for them to exchange and interact with themselves, which is actually the real core of the experience. So studio was based in Paris, but now expanded in New York City and lately in Dubai. So we have a global reach, a lot of installations in all continents. And so the origin of the story is content, where we developed content for first brands, large video mappings, lately on the Empire State Building for Star Wars and Netflix shows. We also went into 3D billboards with a twist because we could make them interactive, have people play with them to break out the standard advertising format, and also film since we are good at creating content with our tech, we can also do classic 16:9 videos. The digital came after, where we explored the way of augmented and XR, where we would create our own studio. The idea was to have a really comprehensive version of the tech where we could tell engaged stories and immerse people into the content. And finally, to complement that, we would always have an online version of the experience. Now, experiential, so that's where we go to do massive interactive exhibitions. So we will create whole spaces with a big emphasis of scenography. This is where we would really blend the technology, the visuals, and the story into one coherent construction. We could bring this also to live show and to corporate shows. And finally, we create autonomous installation that could be just for an event or maybe for permanent time. So the idea is to surprise people by exposing them to new kind of content and new technologies, and to create the context for more playful interaction with the content. So we are all included a studio where we could do everything from imagining a concept, create the design, do a technical study in which we define which technology is the best for what we want to achieve, and then create, which is I guess the fun part, and go until the technical production on site. So we can follow the whole project from idea to delivery. Here's some examples of. So that's super bien. I spearheaded the Super Lab project, which is a literally underground playground where we could experience and play with all the tech we develop for installations in a more creative and innovative way. So the idea is that we would in here prototype future installations, test content and machine at scale. And the idea was to push the boundary of what's possible only on computer screen and to immerse people into the live content. So, for instance, we do a lot of research and development there, which is a program that I led at the studio for the last years, where we would try to explore technologies that are not needed yet, but that we could put into our toolbox in the future, like motion capture with augmented cameras that we would put into an AI model to track people markerless. So this would enable us to have like a really free and cool way to capture dancers, for instance, without them to have suits or needing too many sensors. And we explored a lot, of course, with AI. All of this with the idea of bringing more play and more emotions into the stuff we make. So one way to engage people in the story is to blend different kind of displays and to have them in a coherent setup. For instance, blending lights and mirrors and video by also tracking people so have everything react at the same time. So the idea is to create a global environment in which people can have fun and express themselves. And then we tackle some more complicated subjects, like what if you could play with data? Like how do you engage with a data set? How do you engage with some like skin data from body scans? So the idea is to bring people inside of the data and then be able to play interactively with it. So by pushing the storytelling through the technology, it makes it disappear. Because in the end, you don't play with data like on an Excel sheet, but you actually get to interact with it and connect. So that's how you can push very technical storytelling from the beginning into a really enjoyable and playful activity for everyone. And then we can also the fun part is like you can take like everyday object or already fun stuff we do in the real world into with a digital augmentation. For example, we tackled the coloring book experience, and we had kids see their colorings come to life and interact with each other. So the idea is that there's no technology involved as long as you don't look too close. So for the kids, they would just have this magical experience of coloring any Pegasus, for instance, put it into a machine and see the Pegasus come out of the sheet and then go into a magical painting there's no screen or button or anything involved in here, which to my mind breaks a bit of the playfulness. So it feels very natural, and that's how you get to magic. Or you can have also teachable experiences. For this one, we work with marine biologists to recreate undersea aquarium, but without harming any fish, for real. So it was an interactive space with sensors on walls and ground and everywhere. Actually, it was a full 360 experience in which you can discover marine life without disturbing it. So it can also be a tool not only for fun, for play, but also for teaching and for learning actual stuff. So at a horse jumping event, then we imagine how we could bring the experience of the high-end horse rider for kids. So the idea was to have the kids to incarnate the horse and to create a fun experience around this, which was not a video game, that would not use buttons, and that would feel very smooth and kind of magic for them. So the first idea was to have like a race between three horses, but if you do a race, like people go at different speeds, and you cannot have all of them on the same screen. So in the end, we switch for more like obstacles jumping game, where everything was about the timing. But we ran into new difficulties with that, because we first looked into connected trampolines that did not exist, unfortunately. So we have to invent them. So we use some kind of LiDAR technology to measure distance under the trampoline and to see how people bounce on it. And the idea was to have this horse jump in synchronicity with the people, which was well with adults, because we jump at most at like 60, 70 jump per minute. But as soon as we brought kids on the trampoline, it was much too fast. Like we clocked them at like 100, 140 jumps a minute, because they do much more jumps, and the horse would be like he had epilepsy. So we had to change the way the system worked and then it became more like a rhythm game in which you had to find your balance with the horse. And in the end, to blend everything, we had the design of the game. We worked with a painter that did the scenography all around. So it was like a cohesive experience in which actually it becomes just augmented trampoline, and there's no screen involved anymore, no button. It's not really a video game. It's a really playful and immersive experience in this kind of the universe. So the video part was merged into the real world. And finally, we explored a lot of communication with neural networks and AIs, and see how it changes the relationship to the content, how we can be even more natural. Now, even if AI is tough to integrate for most companies, for our creative endeavors, it's kind of a gift, because it unlocks so many possibilities. There's like endless avenues now for interactions with AI, with natural conversation, with body recognition, with movement. So by adding all the technologies that we first had in our toolbox and then added AI on top of it, we've made really engaging technologies like creating a band in 10 minutes with a song cover and band name, for instance. We developed a conversational system that would be embodied by a 3D meta-human, in which you can have natural conversations, and in which you can put any specific data set, so it can know very specific things about the event you're at or the company you're talking to. And finally, we can also have great fun with those tools, like we had yesterday at our workshop, where we created a whole musical in one day with a group. Not sure we're production ready yet, but we had a great fun. And finally, so right now, the next project I'm working on is a new way to tell new way to tell stories, where we develop a sort of show which is a mix between immersive theater, podcast, and an escape game, I guess. It takes place like an immersive theater set, but there's no actors, so you can just hear what's happening, and you go through the story by engaging with the other participants, objects, and moving into the space, and then you use the public's imagination to project themselves into this world by just the audio of what they So it's a journey that blends technology and storytelling in a completely new way. So as we look toward the future, I guess the fusion of technology and play opens doors to limitless possibilities. So I think we should have to continue to push those boundaries and explore those connections. Thank you, everyone.